Welcome to Birdseeds. Today's episode, we're going to try something a little bit different here. So, curious your guys' feedback on the audio. Got a couple different things going on here, just trying to make things better. And I want to throw a huge shout out to Ron Wolf. He was on here a few weeks ago, local agent here in the Frederick market. Great guy, been an agent for a long time. He's the guy that did the hard 90 or whatever it's called, where he just kind of went crazy for 90 days or so forth and customized the plan. Anyway, so Ron, real estate agents, the old saying is if you want to get rich in real estate, find something to sell real estate agents. And I mean, it's accurate, but agents travel all over the country for these seminars, these motivational seminars, and they're going to get great ideas that they can implement in their business. It's a rah, rah, rah to keep us motivated because it is quite the grind in this business. And Ron, I mean, to his credit, said, why fly across the country, take a whole weekend out of sales? Why do all that kind of stuff if, we have great agents in this marketplace that all do different things well. And he set it up. President's Day, we're going to make it at least an annual thing. We're talking about kind of bringing it back here, maybe sometime in the summer, because he has a pretty cool house with a great pool. So, hopefully that comes to fruition. But we had an amazing mastermind session. I mean, we had agents from, I think it was 4 states come down or come out and just share what the different things that they do that make their business successful. And it was awesome. I mean, we had an agent talk about geo-farming, which is like a mailing campaign. You can throw in some social media, some commercials, different things that you just want to basically, you're branding yourself to a specific neighborhood to be the expert in that neighborhood. And somebody that's absolutely killing it in that world. And I'm going to bring him on this podcast as well. I mean, that was awesome. Totally awesome. Had another agent that's super big on social media and how she's super in touch with her people on social media, very personal. One of the changes for this podcast is if you listen or watch on YouTube, I'm standing today. So there's an agent that was talking about YouTube and how to use YouTube for business. And I finally caught the bug. My coach, Don Jacks with Tom Ferry, has been beating it over my head for, at least 5 years that I need to get on video. And this was my little relay into it. But I'm going to start doing a lot more videos, start doing a lot more informational things about the market and why you should be where you be. So I decided I was already shooting this on video, but while I was sitting down, not being animated, microphone was in my face. So today we're going to start making the video just as important as the audio. As a musician, audio is my thing, but we're going to do that. So I presented, and the topic of today's episode is going to be on the theme that I presented. And I am really passionate about this. I've always been into psychology. Took a lot of electives in college in psychology. It's just something I've always kind of been interested in and understanding the mind and the way it works and the meanings behind things and so on and so forth. And at a Tom Ferry seminar, I went to one, it was called Sales Edge, and a great guy by the name of Bill Pipes taught a Sales Edge course, which was sales language and things like that. And he focused on this concept that we're going to hit on today called NLP. Neuro-linguistic programming, also known as natural language processing. In a very short scenario or synopsis, if you will, NLP is more about how you say what you're saying than what you say. You need to have your script. You need to know what to say. That is 100% the truth. But NLP is the next level in sales, and it's how you say it. And I think it's super important. And to break it down, and you go back and, I hope I'm not touching on anything sort of sensitive here by saying this. And if I do, it is absolutely not my intent. But it goes back to the tribe mentality, right? So, go back before technology, go back thousands and thousands of years. And, people trusted people that reminded them of themselves, whether that's visual, whether that's language. But if you were different, you were potentially there to kill them. You were the enemy, right? So it's something that's ingrained in our nature that there's an immediate sort of trust by people that remind us of ourselves. And that's what NLP is tapping into. And again, I really hope that doesn't come across in a way that I don't intend it to, because I really think it's important to understand the basics of the mind and human nature. At the end of the day, we're naturally attracted to people that we think of like ourselves. So using NLP, it's awesome. I mean, it's useful in every step, every part of the the sales cycle, if you will. It's something that can be utilized from initial lead contact to something that can be utilized in the appointment, something can be utilized during the transaction, after the transaction. And I think where it maybe shows up the most important is on that immediate first contact you have with somebody, whether that's at a coffee shop, waiting in line at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or wherever you get your coffee, whether that's, on a phone call from, prospecting with somebody. But it's the first thing that people, again, before you say anything, it's what you do, it's how you say it. It's even how you say hello that's going to create trust and create where that relationship has potential to go. The other thing I want to say is, before we get into it, the theme of that mastermind was be organic. You can't be successful in any of these endeavors at finding new clients if you're not organic. Be you. Now, you can control parts of you, you can emphasize parts of you, but you have to be the same you in every one of these things. Otherwise, you're going to come across as fake, and that is the worst thing for trust. You are going to lose trust 100% if people don't think you're being truthful, organic, honest. And the whole point of this is that you want to gain trust. So one of the things that I think is just super simple, just a really simple concept in NLP, and it's the same thing, it's the same reason that, Adidas would partner, I guess now formerly Justin Thomas, right? Whoever they're partnering with, Air Jordan as an example, right? Why did Nike partner with Air Jordan? Well, that immediately gave clout. It's a known entity. It's called named entity recognition. Everybody knew Michael Jordan, best basketball player of all time. Arguably all time, I think all time. Best basketball player of all time. Why did they pick him as the spokesperson? Because people know who he is, and there's instant trust in that. And I think using that named entity recognition in the sales cycle is just a super simple way to get people to understand what you're talking about. If you walk into somebody's house, or you notice something in their email, or you have somebody that lives on their street, or whatever it is, right? Throw those details out. Those are things that people know, they latch onto. A, it shows that you know what you're talking about, and B, there's that name entity recognition. They now know what you're talking about. There's now merit beyond you that gives them that clout. That's like in real estate again. The benefits of being on the big brands, the Remax, the Keller Williams, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is that people know those. It's a named entity recognition. There's still certainly many benefits of going independent. That's a whole nother topic for another day. But if you are with one of those big brands, use it because people know what it is. And it just gives you an instant level of importance. And again, they know who you are. Again, find something to bond over. You walk into somebody's house and they've got an Orioles poster behind me if you're on video. They got an Orioles poster. They obviously like the Orioles. If you like the Orioles, that's something to talk about. Man, I have not been to a game in 2 years. I can't believe it. I need to go back. Last year was so exciting. The young guys are showing up. I can't wait to see what they do this year. I really hope they're able to kind of capture that magic again and push it. I hope this is the playoff year. I'm a big Capitals fan. I have season tickets. I went down to the Raleigh for the outdoor game. If I've got, again, Caps behind me, if you're on video, and they have Caps, bumper sticker on their cars, I walk in. Jersey in the closet when they show me the house. Anything. I can create instant bond with that person over my love of the Caps. I know stats. I know facts. I can show that I know what I'm talking about, even if it has nothing to do with selling myself, selling my services, right? And then another simple one. Smile. You can't be mad if you smile. I stole this from Tom Ferry. It is physically and emotionally impossible to show anger if you're smiling. Now, all of you at home or in the car or wherever you are, I want you to try it. I want you to smile as big as you can right now. And I'm sure you're hearing this in my voice, how the tone of my voice just changed, how my words are a little bit more open. That's just me smiling. This is me talking normal. This is just me without an expression on my face. This is me smiling. All I did was change my mouth. This is me kind of talking with a frown. I'm not talking any different. Now I'm talking normal. Now I'm talking smiling. It's crazy. But I want you to smile as big as you possibly can. Give me the biggest smile you can. And then try to be angry. Get mad. Pump your fist. You can't do it. It's impossible. The contrary is true. Super important. Often overlooked. Give me a grumpy face and try to be happy. You can't do it. Your body won't let you. So smile, 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 smile. Even on the phone. I mean, I would even say take it as far as when you're sending a text or an email. It just comes through, right? All right, so you get somebody on the phone, it's an inquiry, it's a past client, sends you a referral, whatever it is, right? You want to get on the phone and you want to create instant connection. And I don't care if it's a voicemail. You can create instant connection with somebody on voicemail, assuming they listen, right? So some of those ways to create instant, deeper connections. And this is where it gets a little bit, some people call it creepy, but whatever. You want to match the tonality of the voice of the person that you're talking to, okay? So if you're a call and you get a voicemail, I don't care if it's a cold lead came from a signed call, whatever it is, you get random person you've never talked to, and you get their voicemail. And they have a little bit more of a nasally voice. Well, then you want to make your voice, you don't want to mimic them, you don't want to make fun of them, but you just want to take your normal voice and maybe go a little bit more nasally with it. And if they talk really fast and the voicemail, hey, this is so-and-so, blah, 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 then you want to talk really fast because they want to, you want to get on their level. If they talk really slow, hey, this is Joe Bird, leave me a message, I'll call you back. Then you want to go, hey, this is Joe Bird. I'm with Remax Advantage Realty, and I wanted to give you a call because I understand you might be thinking about selling your house. Please give me a call at yada, 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 right? So you want to match that tonality. You want to match that rate of speech. And I mean, again, I hope I don't upset anybody by saying this. And if I do, it's not my intention. Please understand my intention. But if you ever talk to somebody that talks faster to you than you, the common concept would be the used car guy, right? Or car salesperson, whatever. And they talk really fast. It instantly feels like they're trying to cheat you. Like they're trying to get you to not think and just push you there. And it feels like they're cheating you and there's a lack of trust. You ever talk to somebody that talks slower than you? Sometimes it can kind of feel like they're not the most intelligent person you're talking to. Those things are completely not true, by the way. That's just how they talk. It has nothing to do with their level of intelligence, competence, etc. But it's just there's a natural feeling like, come on, man, go, hurry it up, hurry up. Or, dude, slow down, I need time to think, I need time to process. If you get on their level, you're going to instantly create that trust. Match that energy. If somebody's bouncing around and they're talking fast, then you want to be bouncing around. If somebody's, kind of maybe they're not in the best mood. Maybe they don't really want to move. Maybe they're moving because divorce. Most 99% of the time, that's not a good thing, right? Nobody wants that. So if they're not really happy and you come in, you're like, hey, yeah, let's go. I can sell your house. It's going to be awesome. You're going to make so much money. They don't care about money in that moment. They care about the emotional side of the real estate at that moment. Get on their level. Hey, I totally understand. It wasn't in your plans a couple years ago to make this move, and I totally understand. And the situation is what the situation is, and I want to do nothing more than to help you get the most out of it that you can, both from a financial perspective and the emotional perspective. Here's how we're going to accomplish that. And again, get on their level. So you're going to match energy, you're going to match body language. If they're kind of sloped down, you kind of want to slope down a little bit. If they're sitting straight up, sit straight up a little bit. And I mean, again, think of yourself. You're not in a good mood. You're in a bad mood. It happens. People are in bad moods. And somebody comes along and they're all happy and excited. It's kind of annoying. It's kind of like, dude, cool, you're happy. I don't want to, I'm jealous. Get away from me. Vice versa. You're all in a good mood and you got Eeyore next to you and Eeyore's like, man, it's raining. It's the clouds only over me. It's kind of annoying. Don't annoy people. If I could take one statement here and break down sales is not annoying people, right? It's more than that, but that's a simple concept, right? And then, so if you can build that instant trust using some of those skills, again, tonality, rate of speech, dialect, again, if they have accents, don't mimic it, but kind of match it a little bit. You can take that as far as if somebody, maybe English wasn't their first language and maybe Spanish was, and Spanish is kind of that romantic, bouncy, it's almost like a song, then you can kind of talk in a way that you're bouncing and making sure that they sort of feel the rhythm of how you're talking. And as a musician, that's a lot easier than it might be for some other people. But if you can kind of keep that flow and how you talk and keep it kind of moving, then maybe you're going to just sort of create that instant bot. So again, we got tonality, rate of speech, dialect, energy, body language, etc. on those instant connections. Now you're connected. How do you turn that into influence? Another super simple definition. Sales is influence. That's it. That right there is what sales is. Sales is influencing other people to buy what you're selling or to agree with what you're doing or It's influence. That's it. Sales is influence. Now, there's ways that you can use the NLP concepts to create influence. When you match them and you've created the trust, and now you've got dialogue going on and you're on the same page as them, now you can start doing some of the more psychological things and start pausing for effect, using certain words, using your body language, things like that to point to sort of make embedded commands, subconscious commands on what you want them to do. So one way of doing that is pausing for effect. When you sign the contract, we're going to get you moved to Florida. Now, if you picked up what I did there. So when you pause, slight elevation of tone, slight sternness in the tone, sign the contract, pause again, we're going to get you moved to Florida. When you sell your home, the next step will be to sign this contract. Now, that was a double. I just said, sell your home, sign this contract. Throw in body language, throw in, maybe you've got the contract right there and you tap it a little bit. When you sign the contract, when you make this move, when you sell your home, when you list with me, when you hire me, when you hire my team, so on and so forth. And every time I'm saying that, I'm tapping that contract, and that's making a slight subtle. Now, it's got to be subtle. You can't do it super obvious, but it's got to be subtle and tap it. And it's going to be basically giving them a subconscious command to move forward, to sign that contract, to list their house, to hire you, etc. Now, I like to take this time to make an analogy. Let's take baseball. We've already talked about the Orioles. Goes. So you see the batter when they're in the batter's deck. They're getting ready to go up to the box, right? And they've got two bats, or they've got a weight on their bat, or whatever level of play, whatever they're doing, they've got that bat heavier than the normal bat they're going to swing. And they're putting their weight and they're putting their muscles into it. Well, number one, they're warming things up, sure. But what they're really doing is in that moment, when there's no pressure to swing, to hit a ball, there's not even a ball to hit, there's no pressure, they're going to swing a little bit harder or maybe a little bit softer. It all depends on your mindset. Then when they're in the moment, the pitch is coming, there's a natural tendency to pull back in the pressure moments. It's hard to be sort of in the forefront. It's difficult to do. So in those moments, they're sitting there. The ball's coming. And there's a lot of pressure. And they swing. A lot of the times they're either going to overswing because they're trying to hit the home run and that's all they're focused on. Or they're going to underswing and swing a little bit slower because they're timid. So that practice beforehand to put the weights on the bat is to make it harder to swing. It's going to work out both those games. And that's totally true here. We're gonna make it more extreme in practice than it's going to come out in the field in person. Because in person, it's hard to really do it. It's bold. It is really bold. But you know what? Life favors the bold. So do it. And make sure that you have practiced it. You don't want to practice on your people, your prospects. You want to practice. So work on it. Put it in everyday life. Put it in buying a car. Put it in, I don't care, buying a cup of coffee. Just do it. See what happens. See if you can build rapport with somebody. And then see if you can, you can maybe get a discount. Who knows? That's not the point. Just see if you can influence people with this, practicing every day, all day. So we talked about pausing for effect. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I totally understand your goal is to get to Florida. So when you sign this contract, the next step is going to be that we're going to get the photographer out here at the time frame that works for you. We're going to do professional videography, photography, etc. We're going to list it. We're going to list it at this time based on these strategies. So when you sell your home, after you've signed the contract, listed your home, we're going to make sure that you're getting to Florida, which is your ultimate goal. Does that make sense? Boom. Real simple one. Get people in the habit of saying yes, right? Now, you don't want to be super, this example is way too extreme. You never want to do this, but hey, is the sky blue? Yeah. Are the trees green? Yeah. Are your floors hardwood? Yeah. Do you have gas heat? Yeah. You want to sell your house? Yeah. Again, that's so simple, stupid. Not the case. You got to be more. But hey, let's do an intake sheet here. Let's go through and check off the things that are going to be included in the sale of your house. Do I remember right that you had hardwood floors upstairs? Yeah, cool. And you have carpet in the basement? Yeah, cool. You're getting them moving in the right direction. You're getting them to fill out some paperwork. They're not signing anything, but they're still filling it out, or you're filling it out on their behalf, and you're getting them to say yes. And then they're in the habit of saying yes, and when you go for the close, you've led them to saying yes. I love this one. This one is one of my favorites, and I took this from my personal mentor, Eric Pakula. People may be familiar with, and this is my adaptation of it, but people may be familiar with what they call the good guy close. Hey, I'm a good guy. Can't you give me that discount? Okay. Do the right thing. Hire me. You've said that you've said that you wanted to sell as quick as possible. You want to get at least $500K for your home, and you need to be there by April 1st. I've shown you my marketing plan. You've agreed that my marketing plan makes sense. We've talked about pricing. We've agreed that $500K makes sense. So let's do the right thing. Get this signed today so that we can get you there by April 1st. Just a good close, but again, you're doing it in the right mentality, and you're doing it with intentionality in your NLP to influence people. This is my favorite one, and this is one that honestly came pretty natural to me. And then when I started studying this stuff, I was able to recognize what I was doing. And because of that, I was able to really focus on it and do it better and make it more influential. But one of the things I do is I never want to make a decision for anybody, especially if something as big as selling your house. I don't want to make that decision for you. I want you to have made that decision. I want to show you the options. I want to make sure you know what you can and can't do. But I want that to be your decision. So in that moment, I'm going to go through options. Hey, okay, we've talked about pricing. We've talked about pricing at market value, pricing needle in the haystack, or maybe pricing it a little bit low, a little bit aggressive, a little bit attractive in order to create extra demand for your house. In those moments, and you're presenting the options, but you know which one you think is going to be the best outcome for them. You know the one that you want it to be, doing it for the right reasons to help them. One of the things I'll do is I will talk a little confusing. I will present the options, but I will speed up, mumble, kind of go back and forth too many times to make the options that aren't my favorite options a little bit more confusing. And then I'll slow down, get a little bit more stern, really match those things we talked about for the deeper connections, tonality, rate of speech, etc., on the option that I want. And I'll go back, the other one that's a little bit more confusing, and then go back to the one I want. And I just make it so that is the clearest option. So let's give an example. Let's say you're talking about price. So your comps are sitting right at $500K. Maybe the house has a couple upgrades. You feel like you could push it to maybe $525, still get appraisals going. But maybe there's some competition in the market, or maybe there's some reluctance from buyers in the market. And you need to give those buyers a little bit more incentive to pick your house versus either another house or in general. The market we're in today, you need to show buyers a little bit of incentive sometimes because rates aren't great. There's reasons that buyers have pulled out of the market. Now they're starting to show back up. But you've got to sometimes make that price compelling. One of those sayings, again, I steal a lot from Tom Ferry, if your price is not compelling, your house won't be selling. And I know based on my experience in this example, this hypothetical example, but potentially real life, is that $475 list price is going to give them the best chance to get to $525. And it's also going to get them better inspection terms, better appraisal terms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, totally understand. We've talked about pricing. I know you really want to get $515, love $525 out of the house. I totally get it. We've looked at the comps. 500 is the nail on the head. We can push to 525. We could be a little bit aggressive to get you 475. Let's go through the pluses and minuses of each one of those options. And Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I am good with any one of those options. Whatever you decide, I'm fine with any one of those. That's totally fine. But let's just talk the pluses and minuses of them. So if you list at 500 kind of makes sense. 500 is kind of right where the comp should be. I'd have very little concern about appraisal at that point. I'd expect you to get pretty close to that number, but I'm not sure it's aggressive enough that you're really going to get to that 515 to 525 that you really want to get to. Now at 525, one of the problems could be that at 525, maybe they only get one buyer. If you get past that 2 weeks on the market in this market, maybe you kind of become a buyer's market, even though it's a seller's market. The buyer has leverage. You're less likely to get the appraisal waiver. And we already know it might not appraise at 525. And you're probably going to have to deal with some inspection terms, which 525 looks great, but maybe at the end of the day, the net number comes down. But at 475, you're going to have most likely more buyers. You're going to be the compelling house. You're going to be the next one of these fives that are on the market to sell. You're going to be the one that pulls the buyer off the fence and into the buying. And with that, you're going to pull multiple buyers into that, and you're very likely to get a bidding war and a pricing pricing war where they will bid up and start waiving contingencies. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when a buyer's decision is to go up in price and to get to that point, it's their decision. It is much easier to negotiate appraisal waivers than when we've put it out as the price. Their response is always, well, you said it was worth that. We were willing to pay what you thought it was, but we're not willing to pay more than what the bank says, right? And that's the difference between multiple buyers and one buyer. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we've kind of gone through those options. Let's just rehash them again real quick. So 500, best chance to kind of get pretty close to that number, but may not give you the low enough price to push up. At the 525, it's probably going to be really hard. I'm worried that we're going to have to play the pricing game and come down in price. And yes, we'll drop to 515, which is what you want. But at that point, we've got time on market where we're a little bit, not hot, we're not exciting. And at 475, I can't promise, but I think the likelihood is there that you're going to get multiple offers and it's going to get you your best chance to get over that 500 mark. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, which option do you want to go with? And again, to pick up what I did there, I'm totally fine at 500. I spoke middle of the rate, middle of the pace. Didn't really want to push it to 525. Willing to do it, but don't think that's the best option. 475 makes the most sense in my mind, trying to help them along to make the best decision they can make for themselves. So, as we get a little bit more advanced in some of this stuff, nodding your head, and again, translate these to the phone. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you're not planning to talk to any agents, are you? Right? Nodding my head from video, you can see that. You're ready to move forward, aren't you? Right? So, you're doing the head nod, right? You can get it upswings, downswings. Upswing creates a question mark. So, if you end the sentence or the phrase on an upswing, you're asking for more feedback, you're making them think about things. If you end the phrase or sentence on a downswing, it's definitive, you're telling them to do it. So, are you ready to move forward? Versus, are you ready to move forward? If you, again, video, voice, you can hear the difference there. You can't be so over the top on it, but you got to do it. Those are the basic concepts that I have implemented. NLP is such a bigger topic than that. Hands down. But those are some of the basic principles of it that I've brought, that I again, as I said, I had a lot of this naturally, whether I taught myself, whether I picked it up from somebody. I couldn't tell you why. I've been in sales pretty much my whole life. And I did all these things. And I always, approach sales from the perspective of, helping people and doing it for the right reasons, etc. But, it's something I've always done. But studying it has allowed me to focus on it, do it better, do it more consistently, do it more intentionally. And again, the whole point is to build those relationships to create that bonding. I hope this has helped you understand some of the psychology of sales. I'm going to continue studying it. If anybody wants to practice, hit me up. You know how to get a hold of me. Would love to practice with you. You want to dig deeper on it? Awesome. You have stuff that you're doing that I didn't hit on? Please bring it to me. I'll bring you on for an episode. We'll talk about it. We'll go in a little bit deeper on it. I always want to get better at this stuff and continue to be the best version of myself I can be. Thank you for listening. Newest episode of Bird Seeds, all about NLP. Have a wonderful day. Take care.